What are the NFL teams looking to hear about today and Monday?
They want to see that all's clear on the medical, that at least an encouraging sign that you're going to have a guy who's going to be able to play relatively soon. Look, this is a first step. They're going to have to do medicals again at the Combine next month. Any team who's considering drafting him is going to want their own medical personnel to have a first-hand look at him. I mean, there's a long process still. This is an important, I'm assuming he enters the draft, right? We could find out Monday he's not.
Right.
But if he does, there's a long process still where he has to clear a lot of hurdles. There's no question about his ability. If he's healthy, the question is, how healthy will he be and when?
And the point at which all these NFL teams would get their own looks at him will come after he has had to make this decision one way or the other. So he's going to have to make his decision in the absence of that awareness. I've got Marcus Spears standing by. There's the big fella, Swagoo. Where is he? Let me get Marcus up here. Obviously, there he is, the big Swagoo. And obviously, with all of your work with SEC Nation and the SEC Network, you know this situation as well as anybody. What is your expectation of what we're going to see happen in the next 4 days from Tua Tagovailoa?
Behind the scenes, G, what's up, fellas? By the way, man, I miss y'all. I miss New York. Behind the scenes, Tua and this evaluation with the injury, I think is totally separate from his thought process as far as the emotional part. And I say emotional because I think it would be an emotional decision to go back to Alabama. Tua has done everything you can possibly do on the college ranks. He's won a national championship. He's been, and to go back to school to win the Heisman Trophy, to me, is crazy because that's so unpredictable and such an unpredictable thing. And that may be important to him, but I wouldn't go back to college and sacrifice the possibility of still being drafted high. If you look at this draft this year, Tua has a great opportunity. And we've even said it time and time again. If he decides to leave and drops, he'll go to a good team where he can rehab on somebody else's dime and rehab while he's getting paid. And, G, you know me, I always talk about guys getting paid. There are overlying factors for Tua here. Like Laura mentioned when you guys had her up, his brother is there. He's ingratiated himself with the culture in Alabama. Family moved there. There's a lot of those things that's taking place. But if we're talking football, and if Tua is thinking football, he's good enough to be a pro. He's done enough in college to solidify himself as one of the top quarterbacks coming out this year. I think the decision is a no-brainer if we're strictly talking about football and his future at playing quarterback.
Let me bring this to my table here. Bobby, you cover the college game extensively for us and everybody else. If Joe Burrow had an unbelievable year and might be the '1 pick no matter what, if Tua was not hurt, would we be having a conversation about him potentially going #1 ahead of Burrow, ahead of Herbert by the time we get to the end of this process? I guess what I'm saying is he going to go top 5 either way if as Dan says, the medicals come back positive?
No, because I think it's probably going to, half the teams are going to be scared off by this. Remember, the Miami Dolphins wouldn't clear Drew Brees after his shoulder situation. So there's probably going to be 16 teams about that will eliminate them. That doesn't mean the other 16 won't love him. I think he'll still go in the first round. But I think it'll probably be more in the middle, which for him, it's fine because
he could end up at Tampa in another situation where he can sit out, they can franchise Jameis, and they can move on to him, and he'll have 2 great wide receivers similar to what he had down in Alabama, and he would excel. There's no good reason to go back to school. You can't raise your draft stock anymore, and he's not going to go ahead of Trevor Lawrence when he comes out next year.
One of the big issues, too, is if you go out now, you're getting guaranteed first-round money. If he gets hurt again next season, and then you have a pattern of history for 3 years in a row,
free agent.
Then he's dropping all the way.
John Velma, if he were to call you up and say, hey, I need some advice from a guy who played in the league a long time, what would you tell him?
I'm all for going. Go, man. Go. Matter of fact, I think he would go as high as Miami, #5. At sit out a year, you have Josh Rosen, you have Ryan Fitzpatrick right there as well. Let him sit out a year, as what Spears said. Rest on someone's dime and get ready for the next year.
Important. No, we're all talking about him sitting out a year. Or aging quarterback. Who loves drafting Alabama players as much as anybody?
That's Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick, right there.
The other thing that I think should get said somewhere in this conversation, you never wish this on anybody, and maybe if you're an athlete, you never think this way, but with his injury history, the only contract you're ever guaranteed to get as an NFL player is your first one. So if he is going to be in the first round this year, go get it, because you never know what might otherwise happen. Let me give you a final word on this, Swagoo.
Greeny, to all the guys' point, like y'all know me, this is a no-brainer. I'm like, Tua has done and solidified itself. The #1 thing we talked about, last year we were having the conversation about Tua being one of the best college quarterbacks ever. be it not for this hip injury, we would still be talking about Tua in that way. So the arm talent is not affected. And that was what we were enamored with. Ball placement and arm talent was the talk of the town, and he was the toast of the town. That is not changing. And look, the NFL, I've said this time and time again too, and all the fellas up here I'm sure would agree. Ownership, franchises are not in the same position as when Sam Bradford came out and you got to give a rookie $60 million before he plays a snap. There is so much low risk and high reward for based on what we've seen Tua do in his career at Alabama. They don't have to pay him an astronomical amount of money to see if he'll turn out being healthy and a great quarterback.
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, make sure you subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.